Welcome to our exciting webinar today. I hope you're all enjoying the lovely warm weather that we're having. Just going to give everyone a few more seconds to join us. Okay, so we have a lot of interesting content in store for you in our session today, Client Success. Elevate your business by transforming your client experience. So my name is Mary Ellen. I'm the marketing coordinator here at Pace Technical. And if you haven't already heard about us, and this is your first time meeting us today, we're really happy to have you here. We're an IT managed service provider right here in the Greater Toronto area. And we work with technology-driven businesses in industries like legal, construction, manufacturing, insurance, and more. So our proactive managed IT services include cybersecurity, cloud services, business continuity as well. And we're super proud to be an ISO 9001-2015 certified company, as well as a 6-year Great Place to Work award-winning company. So today you'll be learning a lot from our client success team. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our hosts today, Anika, Ahmed, and Marc, Ludwig. And we also have a special guest joining us. That's our CEO, Shale Rizman, as well. Say hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah. And this is our 16th webinar to date. We've been doing these webinars for just over a year now, and we discuss topics on things that we have experience and knowledge on, anything from cybersecurity to Microsoft Teams, client retention to business planning. We've got you covered. And so if you're interested in ever accessing some of these recordings, all you have to do is go to pacetechnical.com, and they are in our media center under webinars. And if you're already a Pace client of ours, you could access those in our Pace portal. And those are directly on the homepage or in the knowledge base. And so I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm just going to go ahead and pass it off to Marc and Anika and Shale.
That's right. So yeah, let's just go through sort of what we're going to cover through this webinar. So we're going to talk about what client success is. We're going to talk about the difference between client success and customer service, because there's some overlap, but there's definitely some differences as well. We're going to talk about how a successful client success team operates as well, and how to be a trusted advisor to your clients. And we're going to talk about some metrics you can use to track relationship health. And yeah, we're going to cover a lot of great content. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so why don't we start with a quick introduction. My name is Anika, as Mel said, and I'm here with Marc. We are part of the client success team. We are actually just half of the client success team right now. We have a full team of 4 of us, but Marc and I specifically, among a lot of the things that we're going to cover today, I think one of the most important roles that we have is acting as the main point of contact for a lot of our clients. We want them to know that if they need, they always have one specific person that they can reach out to, whether it's an emergency that they need addressed or just not really sure how to kind of word it in a ticket. They know that they can pick up the phone and just talk to Marc and I about the situation, and we can kind of coordinate internally with the right team members. On the other end, the rest of our client success team does that for your end users. So any end user calling in or submitting a ticket, our client success team is the one that is going to be handling that request, kind of gauging a sense of urgency, getting it off to the right team member. And so all in all, client success as a team, we are in charge of just providing that kind of personal touch in service when someone is in need. And we'll kind of go through some of the other things that Marc and I focus on as well. So maybe we'll turn off our camera just to get them out of the way, and then we will jump right in.
Right on. Perfect. So here, moving forward. So why are we talking about client success today? What is our goal for this webinar? Well, what we want to do is educate on sort of what client success is and how it can be a huge game changer in terms of your client experience, as well as, for your business as well. And we want to also provide some kind of valuable insight on how you can think about, implementing a client success team into your company as well.
So we want to start with our first poll and just kind of get an idea of how many people have interacted with a client success person before. So we'll give it a few minutes, a few seconds.
Okay.
Wow, so we're getting lots of people chiming in here, guys. I can already tell we have a few responses coming in. So I'm just going to give everybody just about 5 more seconds, and then I will go ahead and end the poll and share the results, if that's okay.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share our results.
So it looks like it's kind of split between never and often, which seems about right. It is still a pretty new industry, so it makes sense that there might be people that have never interacted with a client success person before. If we have any of our clients on here, I think that hopefully they're the ones answering the often and every day. But yeah, often is a great answer as well. Hopefully it means that you have a company that you work with that has a client success person and they're kind of helping you through your day-to-day stuff. So yeah, some interesting poll results there. All right, so moving on.
Yeah, so let's talk actually,
Yeah.
I'll pass it to Anika to discuss this.
Perfect. So what is client success? Essentially, it really just means helping your customers to achieve their definition of success through the use of your product or service. And the best way that we found to do this is to have a dedicated client success role. And it really just needs to start with one person. That's what we did at Pace. A lot of times I know companies will choose to kind of expand maybe an already existing role to add some client success duties. But what ends up happening is their main role will always take precedent, and which it should. Every role in the company has really important work to do, to ensure their client success. They should be focusing on that. So with a dedicated client success role, Marc and I know that our day-to-day focus is on the client experience. We're not worried about projects or tickets or anything like that. Our focus is on just the client experience. So when a client reaches out for help, maybe there's an emergency, maybe they're just not really sure how to word this, they just want to talk it out with somebody, we can get on it within minutes because that's our focus. That's exactly what we're there for. So let's talk a little bit about how it began.
Yeah. So how did client success begin? So there was a bit of a shift in the last 20 years or so from this product era to this subscription era. So we've seen this huge increase in subscription-based companies like I'm sure a few people have heard of Netflix before, but also we see a shift pretty much in all industries like HelloFresh, even Apple Music, these companies that rely on a subscription to like service. And so if we look at this strictly from kind of a business standpoint, so let's say in our example company here, it takes about $18 to acquire a new customer. There's a $1 month profit. So it takes about 18 months to recoup acquisition costs. So what that means is that if your customer leaves after 1 year or less, you incur a loss. So all of a sudden, there's this huge importance on retaining a customer base, right? So at one time during the product era, a sale would be made and, that would be kind of the one sale that's made, and then that decision is done. Like the customer has already purchased the product. However, in a subscription economy, the customer is kind of put in charge in a way. Instead of this one-time decision, the customer is now making a decision every month to whether to continue that service or whether to not. And so really that sort of kind of grew this importance in retaining the service, and therefore there was a huge stress on the customer experience with that service. And this the origin of it, and it was actually, I think in 2005, it was Salesforce, and they're a subscription-based company. And they actually, so they thought they were doing really, really well. There was like 88% increase in their bookings. The trajectory looked like they were headed for like a hyper growth. Things looked good until they realized that they were actually losing customers at a rate of 8% a month. So they were actually losing customers faster than even though they thought that this hyper growth was happening, they actually were losing customers so quickly. And so they kind of coined the term and started a new team dedicated to, okay, how do we make this service really, really great and deliver value consistently and retain these customers? So that's sort of where client success kind of began, but it's moved onwards to focus more on the client experience, and we'll focus on that, all of that. Perfect.
Yeah. But Marc, isn't client success just a fancy term for customer service? I can't tell you how many times I've heard that question.
Yeah.
It's always really hard to kind of explain to people what we do at work, but it is very, very different from customer service, although there's definitely going to be some overlap. But there are some vast differences that we kind of wanted to just cover today. So one of the main things with client success is the proactive aspect. We're proactively seeking out ways to make that client successful, make their experience better. Whereas customer service is looking at the issue from a reactive standpoint. You're kind of getting involved when the issue has already happened, the customer's already upset. There's no way to kind of prevent that from happening. Client success is also looking at the long-term perspective. We're looking at the future of our client's business. We're looking at the future of their success, what's going to make them successful in the future. Whereas customer service is more looking at that specific short-term perspective and issue in that moment. Client success is driving customer value from product. We want our customers to see the value with using our product or our service, whereas customer service is driving the service. Obviously, they want to make sure that the service is great, and that's kind of a little bit of where there's some overlap. Client success is very customer goal achievement oriented. We want to help our customers achieve their goals. Whereas customer service is more looking at the specific issue resolution. They just want to solve that specific issue that the customer might be happening. With client success, we really want our customers to achieve their goals, and we're there to help them along that way. Cross-company involvement. Client success is a specific department, but to be successful, we really need the entire company on board. Whereas customer service is owned by a single department. They're usually a team of customer service agents that are there to kind of help with those reactive issues, where they don't really need to interact with the rest of the team. But as client success, we want to make sure that we're involving our whole team. That's really the only way that we can be successful. And my favorite is we are always seeking to transform our customers. We want them to join us as a partnership and be better. We want them to be better than they were yesterday, and really just transform into the best company and the best version of themselves. And customer service is always looking to obviously bring customer satisfaction for a specific issue, but they're not necessarily looking at transforming that customer, which is a goal of ours for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And we just thought this comic kind of embodies client success. Clients are saying, wow, usually I call you for help. How come you're calling me? And, they're kind of looking at it from a customer service standpoint. And we want them to know that we want to help you before your problem exists. By calling you first, we can help ensure your success. So just kind of a quick way to show the difference there.
Yeah. All right, so what does a successful client success team look like? So we've kind of put it into two very broad categories that we'll kind of delve into. But the first, as Anika had mentioned, is to have your entire company on board. Even though client success is driven by one department, I think that in order for it to be beneficial, it's best if there's communication and it's ingrained in the culture. And yeah, we'll talk a bit about that. And then for the second point, there needs to be a focus on the customer experience, and we'll delve into that as well. So whole company on board. So in order to help with your whole company being on board with client success, you need to sort of develop a common language with kind of your internal departments. I'll pass it over to Anika to talk a bit about that.
Exactly. You want to make sure that the things you're talking about with your team internally don't go over the heads of obviously of other people. They know what you mean when you talk about CSAT, which is our customer satisfaction score. That's something we talk about all the time. Churn, what's our churn rate, and even knowing what that means. NPS, which is a net promoter score. We'll talk about a little bit about that in a bit. Maybe we're talking to our team about the response rate. How many people are responding to our clients, our surveys, or what's our rolling 30-day response rate versus month to date? All that stuff, kind of just getting common language is the first step in getting your whole company on board. They'll obviously be more in the know, and they'll be able to understand some of the things that you're talking about when you're talking about customer service and client success. So yeah, definitely getting a common language going. One of the most important things is talking about it often. So making sure to share wins in all of your meetings. Since client success is the one directly communicating with the client, we'll often hear praise that we want to share, and making sure that the team knows that the impact that they have on the client. So sharing wins.
And just to chime in really quickly, I know at Pace, we actually have weekly meetings where we really celebrate the wins from each department. And so it's just a great way to, share those wins and celebrate them for, what they are, which is
exactly.
Yeah.
Dashboards as well. So with a dashboard with all your statistics, for example, that 99.5% CSAT score you see here is pulled right from one of our main dashboards that I pulled just this morning. And when we were all at the office, we had a bunch of giant TVs right in the middle of our office that shows a running list of all of our customer ratings that come in every single day for every single ticket. And it's right there in their faces. It helps with accountability as well. So having a dashboard just to kind of easily view these statistics is also great at getting your whole company on board. Discussing client success initiatives. So making sure that the rest of the team knows what client success is working on, what are our goals, giving the team an opportunity to add their perspective, because they're obviously coming with a whole different view than client success is. So making sure that they also know what our goals are, what we're working on, maybe some initiatives that are coming up for us, talking about it in meetings and in huddles and things like that is a great way to get your whole company on board.
And I'll just kind of chime in again about that. Some of the best ideas that we've had for how to improve the customer experience have come from other departments who've kind of noticed something that can be improved. And we've just found having that open perspective kind of company-wide has been really great.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it reminds me how much I feel like even just this past year that our technical teams have really kind of shifted the way they approach things and view things, and come to our client success team, whether it's Marc or I or the other members that we have, and said to them, hey, like, I've noticed this. What do you think we can do about it? That to me is like a huge win in itself, because they're really kind of, showing that the whole company is on board, and they're coming up with the ideas as the ones on the front lines of the day-to-day interactions. They're coming to client success with ideas that we wouldn't have even thought of. So that's why it's so important to make sure your whole team's on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So basically just involving them in the whole process, updates as well. If there's any processes that we need to create or update, making sure they're involved, because they're the ones at the end of the day that are going to be using them the most. So essentially just making it part of your culture. Client success only wins when the whole team wins. Ensuring that it's part of the company culture and everyday discussions and goals really ensures that your company is invested in the success of the client along with client success.
Yeah, so moving forward to the customer experience. So we'll delve into each one of these subjects, but kind of at a glance. So what's great to keep in mind for the customer experience is, having a way to receive and implement customer feedback, how to successfully kind of plan a trajectory with your client in order to make sure that you're both on the same page and that they're headed towards their definition of success. The other thing is customer engagement, when and how to engage with your clients. And another thing is to be the voice of the customer, represent the customer internally as well. And then, of course, a really important milestone in the client journey is onboarding. And it's imperative that that goes really smoothly and really sets the tone for sort of the care and human touch that you're going to have with the client.
So let's talk about tracking feedback. Obviously, the first step to tracking feedback is gathering feedback. And one of the main ways that we gather feedback is providing a quick survey for every interaction the client has with a PACE team member. So anytime a client is putting in a service ticket, they need something resolved. It might be a quick thing. It might be even a few weeks that it takes, but anytime that ticket is closed, a user gets sent a survey similar to those happy faces that you see on your screen. And we just ask that they click the one that best describes their experience, making it as easy as possible for them to submit that survey. So it's just a click of a button and it just kind of lets us know how we did on that ticket. Making sure that we're giving clients an outlet. That's key, making sure they have an outlet to share their feedback. They can even leave a comment with that rating if they want to give us more information, but providing that outlet to them is really important.
Yeah, and also having that outlet really lets you kind of flag feedback right away. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not a volcano effect where everything happens at once. You really have kind of your finger on the pulse in terms of the health and of that relationship.
Right. If they didn't have an outlet, maybe we're missing an opportunity to connect directly with the customer, right? So yeah, definitely important to have some sort of way of gathering that feedback.
Yeah, and I know like internally with PACE, we if we do receive feedback like an okay rating or a bad rating, I know that we actually give the client a call and really like take a moment to connect, get their perspective and review. And really, I think what we found is it really kind of sets the tone as, hey, giving these ratings, it doesn't go into the void. There are people who are checking this, and we want to make sure that if there's an opportunity for improvement, that we're going to go ahead and apply it.
That's right. I think I've lost count how many processes we've created or updated because of client feedback, because of a rating that we got that wasn't satisfactory, and calling the user and talking it out with the rest of the team and figuring out, hey, we can create this process that ensures this problem will never happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. And the client, they know the service best in a way from their perspective, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And obviously, educating the clients on the outlet, how to use it, how it impacts the company. Whenever we have an onboarding, we call it a PACE orientation session, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But whenever we have a new client, we make sure we go through this very, very thoroughly and let them know how much we appreciate and in fact, really need their feedback. We need to know if we're doing great so we can continue to service them that way. But we also need to know if we're doing something wrong or terribly bad so we can make sure we don't do that. Or is there, a gap in a process or something that we can fix? Is there an opportunity for connection if like I was saying, if we didn't have the ability to provide a survey with the comments, maybe our clients aren't able to share with us what's bothering them. They're not always going to want to pick up the phone and let us know, especially if they have a bunch of staff members. They're obviously busy with their day-to-day. Just being able to click that button goes a long way, and then we can reach out if we need to. And then also being able to review your feedback if needed. As I was saying, to either update or create a process, tracking it and having it stored in a place that you can go back and review it. Maybe you even want to review it with your main point of contact at that company during a check-in call also. So one of the ways that we do that is by creating dashboards. So for example, here we have a dashboard showing us a few things. At a glance, we can see how many of our interactions are proactive versus reactive, how many of our calls are ending with the client happy versus unhappy, or maybe there's a specific department that we need to focus on process or things like that. So having a way to track it, but also a way to easily kind of view it and see at a glance, maybe some areas of opportunity.
Perfect. So, and as we kind of touched base, tracking feedback is all well and good, but it's only really useful if you kind of take that feedback and then apply it and take action. So one of the responsibilities of the client success department is to, communicate internally. You get the right team members involved to address the area of opportunity. What can we improve? What process can we update or create so that this doesn't happen again? And that's sort of going back to when we were comparing customer service and client success, turning those reactive situations into areas of improvement or proactive processes so that they don't happen again. We're always improving. We're always building. We're never necessarily satisfied with where we're at. We always want to be better. And I know for myself, that's one of the things that I love about kind of working in this department.
Yeah, same. I mean, there's so much room to improve. We've come such a long way as well, but as the industries change, as our client base changes, there's always going to be room to kind of proactively improve.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about success planning. So it might look different for every company. You might even want to segment clients while you're doing your planning for them. Maybe you have a lot of clients and you want to segment them based on their success plan or their goals, their size, their level of support. But every success plan starts with alignment of goals. So basically having an understanding and a plan for how to make each specific customer successful in the way that they define success. What does success look like to them? What are their goals? I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make is trying to define success for their customer. So, when they get all of their computers updated, they'll be in a better place. Or when they get their servers updated, they'll be successful. However, that client might not be focused on that. They might be more focused on security right now. Maybe they had a security breach last year. And so their focus this year is going to get their security up to par or have better, email security or multi-factor authentication or what have you. So understanding what success looks like to them, obviously we want to share what advice we have and let them know that this is what I think will make your company more successful, but also making sure you're listening to the customer, finding out what is important to them and what are their goals as well, and how can we help achieve them. And also very importantly, periodically checking in during the client's journey with you, specifically on the progress of these defined goals. Have they changed? Maybe we've completed some, but we want to add in a few more. Maybe our goals have changed, something has happened, what have you, but periodically checking in and making sure that you're checking on the progress of their goals as well. Customer engagement. So why is customer engagement so important? Well, obviously partnership means having a constant open communication. Like I was saying earlier, our clients know they can reach out to us anytime with any feedback, concerns, but there should also be kind of a consistent basis where you are available to meet with your client and review any updates from both ends. Reviewing any maybe open tickets that you have. Maybe there's a project going on that we want to talk a little bit about, following up on goals. Have they changed? Really just solidifies that we're a partnership, where it's not a vendor relationship. We're both equally in this, helping each other achieve our goals. Success for the client is going to end up meaning success for you as well. So yeah, making sure you follow up on their goals and keeping on top of that is really important. And essentially, you want to prevent the issues before they occur. Maybe they have a project coming up, and so you're having a customer engagement moment with them. This is a great time to kind of understand, maybe they prefer weekly updates, or they would like to add something to the project. This way we can prevent any issues down the road by getting the right expectations beforehand and ensuring the client always feels supported. So by showing them that there is always someone on their side looking out for them and their best interest, connecting with them on a consistent basis, maybe not necessarily reaching out to them only when they're about to, re-sign the contract, or if you have clients that re-sign every year, not waiting until a month before their renewal date. Obviously, that's not going to leave a great taste in their mouth. You want to make sure you're reaching out consistently so they know that your goal is really their success. The goal isn't just, to make just you successful. You want to make sure. Yeah.
And sorry, and then another thing that is useful about kind of creating that consistent engagement is that you can also like flag when that changes, right? And because normal is going to be different for each client, establishing what that normal looks like can help you kind of flag if there's something out of the ordinary occurring.
Yeah, that's a great point. If we have a client that we're used to talking to weekly, and maybe we did a recent project for them, and all of a sudden they're not really reaching out to us as much. I think as client success, we'll be able to kind of gauge and understand it feels a little off. Maybe there's something that we missed or something that we need to look into.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and kind of on that, I think it's really important to define sort of when in the success journey is a great time to reach out for those engagements. Like Anika had mentioned, maybe a month before renewal is not the best time. Also, maybe a day after onboarding isn't the best time either. But what you can really kind of, and this is something you can discuss with your client. When's a great time to check in and make sure that they're kind of on the right track. Also equally important is as we mentioned, the consistency, but also the right cadence, right? And that is definitely per customer or per client, because people have different, people need different kind of levels of touch. Some people, 6 months is more than enough, or other people would like to check in weekly. It's definitely up to the customer, but you want to make sure that you respect their boundaries that they set in terms of, when to check in.
Even something as simple as whether they prefer email communication or they want rather talk on the phone. People have different comfort levels. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. Yeah. Some people, they want a phone call. They want to have a voice on the other line. Absolutely. The other thing too is to be receptive to change. All those things can change on a dime, right? If you're used to dealing with one person and that sort of point of contact changes within that company, and you're dealt with somebody who has a completely, like Anika said, maybe they prefer email contact. You need to be receptive to that, and also be flexible, depending on their industry. There might be really busy times of the year. There might be things happening in their industry that they need to focus on. So they don't necessarily have sort of the bandwidth to be checking in as regularly as normal, but you just have to be receptive to that and really flexible. And the other thing to keep in mind as well is to bring value during every interaction. You don't necessarily want to just engage with the customer and not bring value, because that they might take that as you're wasting their time. You always want to bring something, whether it's letting them know about a new feature in the service, or letting them know how they can use their service to have a greater impact on their success plan. I think this is a great opportunity to review what their definition of success is, and kind of challenge yourself on how can you use your service and your knowledge of that service to help them even further.
That's right. Yeah. And I think one of the things about our team, at least, is they're extremely humble and to almost a fault at certain points. We're not very good at boasting about the good things that we do all the time. We just kind of take that as our day-to-day, obviously. But that's one of the things that client success can kind of help with is, hey, here's a project that we did, and everything went well, or here's a computer deployment that we did and your end user was happy with the way the setup went. Just kind of, adding in little reminders here and there of the value that we do bring can also kind of be helpful, because we, again, aren't always the greatest at tooting our own horn. So let's talk a little bit about the voice of the customer. So client success represents the client's perspective within the company. I always like to tell our customers, think of us as your employee. We just have an office at Pace, but we are there for you. We are your voice. And how we can do that is, for example, in meetings. So anytime we're in a meeting, client success gets invited to all of the meetings because every single department involves the customer, obviously. And that's great. We can kind of be there on their behalf to ask questions for them, such as how would this impact our customers? What would our customers think of this? Is there a better way we can deploy this? Things like that, bringing those to the table so our technical team can focus on their strategy stuff and the technical stuff that they're working on. That's very, very important. And we can kind of bring in the client perspective and find out, how is this going to actually look for them from a day-to-day perspective. So why is client success the best person to ask these questions? Well, we've established that relationship with that client. We talk to them often, hopefully, and we know what things they like and what they don't like. So we're able to answer those or ask those questions for them. More importantly, we know their goals and their desired outcomes. If we know that they want better email security, is this going to help with that? Or is this just kind of fluff? Is this something that won't help? Asking the questions like that. We're obviously focused on the client experience, so we can bring that to the table, kind of bring that perspective and find out how this new process or new procedure is going to affect the client experience. And as I was saying, while the team is obviously focused on the strategy, and we want them to focus on that, we don't want them to have to think about anything other than that, because what they do is obviously very important work. And reviewing it from a non-technical standpoint. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Marc and I are not technical people. We come from service backgrounds, and that's why it works so well. We have great technicians at our team, and they're experts in what they do, but our clients are not technicians. So bringing that non-technical standpoint and view is really kind of helping kind of tie in the client experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of on that, let's kind of shift and talk about the importance of onboarding. So onboarding, of course, being the process of helping a new client to get set up, trained, and using your product or service to deliver business value. So this is such a pivotal and important moment in the client's success journey, mainly because it's really the first impression that you're going to have on your client. So it's definitely one thing that you want to do right, to show that you can deliver on the promises that were made before the onboarding. And this is a really great chance to make a new client feel like they're in great hands. And really, it's a massive point of leverage as well, right? Like we found that getting onboarding done correctly will save you a lot in the future, especially in terms of trust. Instead of, if you have a rocky onboarding, you're going to find that you're sort of using each interaction or each moment of engagement to kind of build that trust sort of back to where it should be. But if you nail the onboarding and develop that trust with the client, then really you're just continuing to improve and kind of deepen that relationship you have with them. So having a client success be the face of the onboarding can help a new client feel supported right from the start. Yeah. So what we found really helps for us is having one person to reach out to. The simplicity of that can really make it a lot easier for a new client, as opposed to, if you're having this issue, reach out to that department. If you're having this issue, reach out to this department. It really, really helps just having that one person that they know they can rely on. And it also moving forward, that person is going to be checking in with them regularly, making sure they're on the right path towards success. And it's just a great moment to, really deepen that relationship as well. And to align goals, right? To know, like Anika had mentioned before, what their definition of success is and how we can be a supporter and a partner in moving towards that success. It's just the sooner that we can establish that, then the sooner we can make sure that they are on the right trajectory. There we go. The other thing that it helps out with is that we have, for PACE, we have onboarding technicians that can really focus on sort of the technical side of getting the client set up. And the client success team can alleviate some of the other tasks like, information or documentation collection, all that sort of thing. So it kind of eases the workload on our internal staff as well. And the other thing is, a lot of clients are as Anika mentioned, they're not technicians. So having a non-technical person from the beginning can be comforting, and it can also help because we can, in a way, we can help kind of translate sort of these new technical terms to people who might not be as familiar with them.
Yeah. I mean, change is hard for everyone. I hate change. I'm a creature of habit. So we've come across clients that have had the exact same technical setup at their office for 20 years, and we're their first kind of change. And for us, I think onboarding is it's something that we do so often that it's like it's second nature. We do it so often we don't really even think about it. However, for that client, we have to remember that this is still something very new and maybe nerve-wracking for them a little bit, right? To go from what they know, what they've always known, to something brand new. And I think having client success there to kind of help them through all the changes and the processes and the difference in cadence and communication and all that is a big help that we've found. So onboarding, we also want to make sure that our clients have the visibility and ability to follow along during the onboarding. We found that makes a huge difference and impact as well. These are just some snippets of our dashboards from our onboarding portal that we assign to all new companies that we sign on. From day one, they have access to this website that has, aside from these dashboards, just a great introduction, lets them know who to reach out to, so they're never in the dark about that. It's a document repository as well, so every single key onboarding document that we need for a successful onboarding is right in one place. And it gives them these phase and task updates. So for 4 phases or 4 weeks, we like to try and do our onboardings in. For each phase, they can follow along with all the tasks that the client success person and the onboarding manager is going through, and just kind of see how we're doing. If there's any delays or if there's any issues, we can kind of be as transparent about it as possible with this dashboard. And it just makes it, add that level of trust. It lets the user know that, okay, clearly they are, keeping up with their promises. They're doing what they are supposed to be doing, and they can kind of check in every once in a while and see how that onboarding is going. And so we found that has been a great way to kind of earn that trust right from the start. And my favorite part of the onboarding is at the very end. Obviously, by this point, we have talked to our primary contact. We might have talked to some of the C-level executives, the owners, but the end users are also a really important part. They're the ones that are going to be submitting the most tickets, reaching out to us the most. So we hold a PACE orientation session with the entire client success team. So they get to meet us, in the past, we would go on site. Now we do this amazing kind of Zoom or Teams meeting, and they get to meet all of us. And we even bring along some of the technical team members as well. So all of our clients have a dedicated PACE team that is involved with everything from user setup to reactive issues and proactivity checks and things like that. So we invite them along as well, just to kind of meet the team at the beginning and introduce themselves and put some faces to the names. But yeah, at this presentation, we kind of go through the PACE portal, which is obviously there to help submit tickets and track tickets. But as you can see, there's also some helpful tools and articles and just a ton of stuff in this portal. It's more like a client portal with some helpful guides, some great courses. There's a snippet of our PACE portal course that we created that walks them through how to use the portal.
Yeah, and another like really great thing that this kind of orientation session does is it just really opens the communication and kind of sets the expectations of like, okay, so here's the best way to communicate with PACE, and also opens that communication, or that conversation rather, to really make sure that we're aligned in how we communicate, how we are a partnership, how we can work together, and like Anika said, it puts kind of a face to the name as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like we were saying, change is hard. It's not always easy for people to have to learn a new process. So we want to be there to kind of make it as easy as possible for people to learn and interact with us. We don't want that to be kind of a stressful part of their day. We just want them to know that their IT works, and if it doesn't, they can easily reach out to us. So yeah,
absolutely. So a really important part of being in client success is to think about it. You're not a vendor, you are a partner, a trusted partner with your client. So as the face of your company and the main point of contact, it's really important that you are kind of like an advisor to the person who can rely on you for advice that is for their benefit, right? You're not trying to sell them anything. What you're really trying to do is help them achieve success. And in order to be a trusted partner, we found that you need to be credible. You need to tell the truth and without exaggerating, be energized, love the topic. Also, Anika mentioned transparency. We have tons of examples of transparency, from the dashboards to our whole ticketing system. We really want to be transparent with the client. Also, you need to be reliable. When you say that you're going to do something, a successful client success person is somebody who is a person of their word. When they say something's going to get done, they're going to do it. They're also
in terms of to jump in there. In terms of reliability as well, even just a simple, if you call me or you email me, we'll be there. That's I think goes a long way as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, obviously we have processes where you submit a ticket and you let us know, but we all know that there's things that are going to come up in your day-to-day lives where you just really want to get a person on the phone or in an email and talk to somebody about something that might be happening at your company. And so I hope our clients feel that they can rely on the client success team, that we're there to help them through that issue one-on-one, and they don't have to worry about submitting a ticket and wondering if it got to the right team. So
yeah, absolutely. That's such a great point. Also, trusted advisor is intimate, and we don't mean, candlelight dinner sort of intimate. What we mean is that you're invested in the relationship with that point of contact with that person, right? You appreciate getting to know each other's. You know their boundaries and their preferred way of communication, and I think that really focusing on kind of deepening that relationship really drives the success of them, and also it makes that partnership really shine as well.
Yeah, and kind of to circle back on why it is so important to have a dedicated client success role, this is something that I think comes naturally to Marc and I. We naturally want to connect with our clients and the people that we talk to. It's something that obviously our career has, working in customer service has taught us. But it's something that's, it's not forced or something that we're doing on the side because we have to, but our focus is on something else. It's really something that, it has to come naturally to you, and you're going to want to have someone in this role that really enjoys connecting with people and yeah, again, just comes naturally, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another thing is that a trusted advisor who is knowledgeable. It's hard to be a trusted and credible advisor if you don't have a lot of knowledge about your service, right? You need to have the knowledge of your service to the point where you can really use it to apply solutions and educate your client on how they can utilize that service. But also on the flip side of that is you need to be knowledgeable about your client's industry as well. To really be a great advisor, you need to kind of know what they're going through and do that research and do the work to really make sure that every time you're engaging with the client, you know what's going on in their industry or what's going on in their company and how you can best help them.
Yeah, that's right. And it even helps knowing, maybe they have a busy time of year, maybe they have a quiet time of year, and we know that maybe we want to reach out to them a little bit less during their busy time, or maybe more, maybe they need more help. But really understanding their industry and them as a company will go a long way. And as Marc was saying, even internal knowledge, like when I first started at Pace, I had no idea about anything with technology. But you need to learn a little bit about it, enough to at least confidently talk to your customers about something that might be going on. So Marc and I are always, trying to learn more from our team internally. Obviously, we don't need to go in depth and know the hows, but for example, if we're installing a new battery or a UPS at a client's, I don't need to know how it happens, but I need to know that, okay, it means that the client's going to be down for about a half an hour. So maybe we want to schedule this first thing in the morning or at the end of the day. Those are things that our technicians obviously think of as well, but it's really helpful for us to know if we're interacting with the customer and how it's going to impact their day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then honesty as well. This kind of goes back to the transparency, but also being a trusted advisor isn't necessarily kind of sugarcoating things or telling the client just what they want to hear. You are there to help them achieve success. So you need to be upfront and honest to them.
Yeah, and that'll just add to the trust level as well.
Yeah.
If your clients know that you're honest, you're not, as Marc was saying, sugarcoating anything. You might even need to deliver bad news sometimes, and that's okay. It's as long as you're honest, your clients will learn to trust you. Once that level of honesty is gone, that level of trust is gone, and then you're kind of always playing catch up, trying to get that level of trust back. So just good idea to be honest and upfront from day one.
Yeah, another thing that somebody in client success needs to be is really tolerant to stressful situations. Being the face of the company and oftentimes the point of contact, you are going to deal with stressful interactions, and it's important to be a sort of person who can take a step back, really listen to maybe there's a concern or maybe that. Maybe there's, some feedback, but you need to be able to take a step back, listen, and, from a very understanding perspective, create a solution to, try to move towards a solution.
Yeah. And if you're as insane as Marc or I, we are almost welcoming of challenges. It gives us obviously an opportunity to help kind of make that challenge into a more positive experience, obviously, with the client.
It's going back right to that shifting things from reactive to proactive, right? Any stressful situation like that, this is in a way an opportunity for us to improve.
And as you were saying, Marc, not kind of being, bogged down with the stress, kind of looking past it and understanding that the customer's obviously stressed, but okay, why? What can we do to now mitigate that stress and resolve this issue for them, and not being kind of, getting stressed out yourself because you're in a stressed out situation. Kind of looking past it. Great. So why don't we move on to our next poll of this webinar. And we want to know how many of you guys have heard of the Net Promoter Score. We're talking about tracking relationship health, Net Promoter Score. Yeah.
Okay, so I've launched the poll. So again, just gonna give everyone a little bit of time, get your answers in, and then we'll go ahead and share it in just a few more seconds. All right, answers are in. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll now, and let's share our results.
Great. So it looks like there's sort of a majority of people who have never heard of it, which is great because we'll kind of go through what it is and how to implement it. Yeah. Perfect. So the NPS, or Net Promoter Score, is what we found to be by far the most simple and accurate gauge on the health of your relationship with your client. Of course, the underlined section is simple and accurate. And it is this question below. So based on your experience with us in the last year, on a scale from 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend us to a company like yours? So this is a question you can ask after, a meeting, and it's just that number between 1 and 10 that really gives you an idea of where you're at with that client and where you are, in terms of your health of that relationship.
Yeah, that's right. So who should we be gathering this information from? Well, we talked a little bit about how every end user has the opportunity to submit a ticket rating, letting us know how we did. We kind of factored that in as well. But what we've really kind of started to dive into is speaking to our primary contacts. Those are the people that we talk to on a maybe daily basis, or anytime that there's anything important that comes up. Those are the ones that we reach out to at that company. We want to know what their experience is, obviously, as well. They're often involved in the more stressful situations. So getting an idea of where they are and based on their experience for the last year. And our C-level executives, it gives us an opportunity for our team as well, our C-level executives, to reach out to company owners and CEOs to find out what's their perspective. All three are going to give you probably a very different number, but with, all three put together, gives us a general idea of how successful and how happy that company is. And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about unpacking the results. So you're going to want to find out, obviously, what score is ideal for your company. How are you going to approach, you might be happy with a 7 and you want to work your way up from there. Maybe the 9 is your benchmark, but mainly you want to find out what you're happy with as a score. And so how you're going to be approaching the bottom scores versus the top scores. And almost maybe even more importantly, that middle group, who are often at risk of being forgotten if we only focus on the bottom scores. And even the people that score high, we don't want to ignore them. We want to make sure that they know as well that we're still keeping up with it. Just because they gave us a great score doesn't mean we're going to now ignore them for the year. But definitely asking those follow-up questions after we get that score. If it was a lower score, one that we're not happy with, finding out what can we do to improve? What is it that we did wrong? What's making you feel you are not very happy with us, or you wouldn't want to recommend our services? Or on the flip side, what are we doing right? Obviously, the people that are giving us high scores, we want to know what we're doing right so we can continue doing it. But also maybe we can take some of those ideas and help with the lower scores and find out maybe it's something that we need to implement with them as well to bring them up.
And also, to just jump in, it's a great time to really check in with that success plan that you created with them, because there probably is some kind of discrepancy between where they want to be heading and what your role or service is in helping them achieve that.
Right.
So continuing on with the unpacking. So here's some terms that are used. So of course, at the top of, under 9 and 10 out of 10, these are going to be the promoters. These are going to be the people who are actively promoting your company, are huge fans, 7 to 8 are passives. These are people who, they it's okay, they're happy with it, but maybe there's a room to improve in terms of bringing them value. And so I know that like we at Pace, we look at it as a chance or an opportunity to show or deliver extra value to these people who kind of fall into this section. And then the 0 to 6, those are going to be the detractors. These people are most likely a little disengaged. They are not getting the value that they need from the product and or service. So these are going to be people that you definitely want to focus on. And like I said, loop back to their success trajectory and really think about, okay, so where did we go wrong? What can we improve? And so a great way to check sort of the average net promoter score is to take the percentage of promoters and subtract it by the percent of detractors. And that should really get you a great idea in terms of where you're at on an average throughout all your clients.
Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the key components of having a client success role is we're there to kind of gauge if a customer is becoming a detractor, or maybe they already are a detractor. We should already hopefully know by now if we have anyone that is that unhappy with us, maybe one foot out the door. So that's one of our goals, is to kind of keep up with the communication and always kind of be in the know with that kind of stuff. But the Net Promoter Score does kind of give us a more accurate representation of how they're feeling. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's important to, make sure that it's kind of similar to engagement, but have the right cadence for your NPS score. You want to kind of create a routine out of it so that you can see the growth of that NPS, and you can really see visually sort of where that customer is at.
Yeah, great point. So where is client success headed? So as the world moves more and more towards a subscription-based culture, as Marc was saying earlier, everything is becoming a subscription thing now. You can get meals delivered to your home. I can get dog toys and treats delivered. Even my dog can have a subscription box. Like, there's just everything is where the world is moving towards that culture. Yep. CS, or client success, is becoming a necessity versus a nice to have, where it used to be kind of, oh yeah, it'll be, nice to have a client success person. Now it is, proving to become a necessity. We've definitely seen success in all of our departments. Specifically, let's take a kind of just a quick look at how our customer satisfaction score has changed over the years. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see from 2017 to 2018, what a big jump we went. We ended 2017 with 93%, which is not a bad number at all, still a great number. But looking at 2018, which is when, about halfway through the year is when we introduced the client success role, but it really didn't take off until 2019. But as you can see, that having that whole company on board was something that Pace was doing already. In 2018, we got our score up to a 98%, and we haven't gone down since. As you can see, each year it's gone up a little bit more and more. And that's client success really taking off and kind of taking what the team was already doing and just kind of focusing a little bit more as well. I think our team was really great at kind of having the whole company on board with the culture of client success. But as you can see, as we started kind of having a more specific role, it kind of took off from there. Yeah. And now our CSAT score, if it's our goal is 99%, anywhere above 99% is great. If we dip below, we're starting to panic. And if we're below 98%, well, I don't know, because we haven't been in a while, but I will let you guys know, because it won't be good, but definitely trying to stay above the 99% for sure.
Yeah.
You can even see some of our Google ratings and reviews. Our clients, love to rave about us. Our referral program has really taken off. Mm-hmm. Just some really great positive impact.
Yeah. And just to kind of link it to the NPS. So what you'll see is that most of these really positive raving reviews are going to be coming from the clients who are promoters, who are in that 9-10 range.
That's right.
Yeah. So the fact is, as like businesses that listen to customers' needs and help build processes to help them achieve success will have an advantage. And that is kind of the baseline and really what we've found at Pace.
Yeah.
So yeah, so quick little wrap up. So we covered, what client success is, specifically, or kind of at its most fundamental point. We talked about the difference between client success and customer service, how there's some overlap, but really client success is a lot more proactive, whereas customer service is a lot more reactive. We talked about how a successful client success team operates, how it's implemented, company-wide is the best way for a client success team to really impact change and impact culture, and also the focus on the customer journey, making sure that we know what their definition of success is. We know what they want to achieve and where our service fits into that and how we can help them, on their way. We also talked about how to be a trusted partner, the sort of character points that are really important in being a great client success team member or an advisor to your client. And we talked about the metrics of tracking health and how to implement them and how to measure them.
Great.
So at this point, I'll just turn it over to Mel here.
Yeah, so we will now open up the floor just to have a very quick Q&A session if anybody has any questions. So far I took a look at our Q&A section, and all we have so far are comments. So I did see one from Kevin that just said, "Great job, Pace," and another one from Leah that just said, "Great content, thank you." So if you have any other questions, this is your time. We're going to be around for the next few minutes just to address any questions, or maybe there's something you wanted these guys to expand more on. So it looks as though we have a question that just came in. So the question asks, "Can I train my customer service agents to become client success people?"
That's a great question. And absolutely, both Mark and I came from customer service roles, obviously,
Yep.
before starting at Pace. So that's a great baseline to start with. Having someone with customer service experience is key. I think it goes a long way in ensuring your client success team will be successful. So for sure, yeah, that's a great place to start.
And just to add to that, what we found is that, these are people who've kind of worked in that reactive, you're creating like a quick fix in customer service usually, or being reactive to problems, and to like have people with that experience to then say, okay, but what if we created processes to improve and fix things before they become a problem, I think is exciting to those people who have kind of been on the opposite end of that. I know for myself, at least, that was the case.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
going to just jump in for a sec, guys, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Anika and Marc have both said that, they come from service backgrounds, with which they do, but, we specifically chose them. Anika comes from like a decade or more of retail experience, and Marc comes from definite service and server experience. Yeah. So, when they talk about service levels, they really talk about seeing the best and the worst of people. So those are the people that you want. They don't need to have, like these guys had said, we didn't hire anyone for technical expertise on the client success team. These guys really know what they're talking about when they're talking about service levels and hospitality. And that is what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm looking in our chat and I found a question in here, and they're asking us, how big does a client success team need to be effective?
Yeah, I love that question. When I first started at Pace, I was doing half client success and half just a bunch of other stuff. And I think just offering up help, that's something Marc, I noticed, did as well. Like just offering every department help wherever you can will help you grow it. But it really just needs to start with one person, and then you'll kind of grow from there if you have the need for it. Um, but even just having one makes a huge impact, at least from what we've seen. Adding in Marc, and now we have two more slash we have one plus an intern, but I feel like we could have more and still have enough work for everybody. So it really just depends on how much you want to kind of expand the role, but starting at least with one, I think is a great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that just answers the next follow-up question, which they asked was, can one person manage the entire department? So I have another question here, unless you want to continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's great to start with one. However, I couldn't progress in my role and I couldn't do some more overview, higher level stuff if I didn't have my team members like Marc and the rest of the team to help me with the more day-to-day stuff, even, right? So you might come across a bit of a cap if you do leave it at just the one. If you want to kind of keep growing it and expand more and have more things, you know, your hands in more things, definitely helps to have some team members as well to help you.
Absolutely. So we're just going to jump into the next question. They say, I work in a child care center, a service-based industry, where our clients are a mixture of children and their families. How would you recommend a client success team start up in this industry? So this is the child care industry, and that's like a service-based industry, very similar to ours because we are also a service-based industry. So yeah, how would we recommend a client success team in that industry?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like any industry, any service industry can use client success. And it really is just kind of looking at maybe, obviously, maybe you want to focus on the parents in this situation, but maybe looking at processes. Is there a, even just something as simple as, is there a better way we can do the drop-off process, starting with something like that? Or is there a better way we can communicate updates to parents about the students' day-to-day lives, things like that? I think
absolutely, like starting that conversation with the parents and also like letting them know sort of what new exciting kind of new things are that you're implementing there. You know whether little things like that, I think it's always a great opportunity to kind of like we said earlier, deliver value or show value of your service can definitely go a long way, because maybe there's not an opportunity for them to really know what kind of value you actually bring. And so I think a client success person can really help that.
For sure. I think the main thing with client success is the proactive aspect to it.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now, if you have problems that you're solving after they've already occurred, maybe there was an incident with a child or a parent or something that they didn't like, I'm sure you're great at obviously fixing that in that moment, but having client success allows you to reach out to your customers, in this case, either the children or the parents, and proactively find out what they're looking for and what will make them happy, what will make them trusting with the most important things in their lives. Right. So like proactively reaching out and doing those things before it becomes an issue, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I feel like you guys also talked a lot about feedback here too. So maybe finding a way to get feedback from parents could also be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so that seems to be the last question, unless anybody else has anything else they want to throw out there. This is like your last 30 seconds to ask us questions. But yeah, that seems to be all. I'm just going to double check our chat one more time just to make sure we didn't miss anything. All right, so looks like everybody's asked the questions that they wanted to. So I guess we'll just wrap it up.
I see a notification.
There we go.
No.
So not a question, but just a lovely comment that just says, thank you so much, guys. This was awesome. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We hope you guys
Such a
learned.
pleasure.
Yeah, hope you guys learned some stuff. We had a blast kind of sharing some of the stuff that we do for sure.
Yeah. So, of course, if you have any other further questions, maybe you wanted to ask us in private, or maybe you wanted to talk to us more about our IT services, you can email us at sales@pacetechnical.com. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, if you wanted to take a look at our webinars, please go to pacetechnical.com, and they're all there. And we also post lots of content and blogs and updates on things like cybersecurity. So please visit our website for more info. And if that's everything, I'm just gonna wish everybody a great rest of their day, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys.